Hey, in this video, I will talk about how you can improve your self-worth and your self-esteem. Okay, many people know how it is when it feels like you have this feeling of lack, or you feel frustrated, or you feel like always like something is missing or something is wrong with you, or things just doesn't work out. So if you want something, it just doesn't work out and you sabotage yourself. Okay, but if you improve your self-worth, these things start to get reduced and start to get less and less. That means you won't sabotage yourself anymore and will finally start to get what you want and make the experiences that you want. Okay, so I will explain you 3 pillars for self-worth, aka self-esteem. Okay, and I will explain you how it works so that you know by the end of this video how you can improve your self-esteem by simply following that. If you just focus on that, your self-esteem will rise dramatically. Okay. So self-worth, what is first of all self-worth or self-esteem? It's, so as you know me maybe on my channel, I talk a lot about subconscious. It is very simply formulated. It's your subconscious that allows you to experience the lives that you want. So your subconscious feels like it can allow you to receive what you want to experience, and you can also allow yourself to go for it. You really are willing to go for that what you want. So you're fully capable of adapting yourself. The lower the self-esteem, the less adaptable you are, right? People start to procrastinate or avoid things, or they can deal with things. And the opposite towards that, when you have high self-esteem, you are fully adaptable, right? You can adapt to the challenges of life. If you have goals, financial goals, for example, then you are fully adaptable. You're fully open to the right things. You can filter out the wrong things. You can set boundaries. So you can adapt in a necessary way to the situation to get better the process and make the experiences that you want, or get later the results also that you want. It's all about adaptation at the end. And the worthiness in your subconscious, whether your subconscious can allow you to be worthy of that, right? And whether you can allow yourself to go for that what you want. Okay, so the first 3 pillars of self-worth and self-esteem, it starts always with the first pillar, and this is self-awareness. Okay, why self-awareness? Because a lot of people talk about responsibility. You should be responsible. So there are people who are responsible, there are people who are irresponsible, for example. But the truth is, you can't be responsible of what you are not aware of. So when many people beat themselves up that they should do things better, or why doesn't it work out? I thought this so many times. Why didn't it work out? I should do more, I should do it better, I should do it in another way. It's not completely wrong, but the thing is, my real problem was not my responsibility, that I should have taken simply more responsibility over that and tried more. It was lack of self-awareness. So my awareness was not deep enough, so that I could not understand that as subconscious patterns where I was sabotaging myself. Okay, so I was, for example, very often measuring my self-worth based on what I achieved, so I was beating myself up. Okay, or I was comparing myself. And since I made these things, since I worked a lot on my self-esteem, my comparison, for example, dropped so hardcore. Like it's really cool. So the first pillar, the self-awareness, it's simply about this 2 sides of self-awareness. The intellectual side, like for example, like people who do journaling, right? They start to understand their own patterns. They start to ask themselves questions. So when you journal, you ask yourself, okay, what was good about the day? And how can I improve? Simply things like that, or ask yourself other questions. What do you want from life? Are you afraid of? For example, what are your biggest fears? Where do you sabotage yourself? So intellectual awareness helps you to get the sense of control, right? That you have something that you can grasp, and that you can basically get more in detail by having this intellectual awareness. Now you can influence it better by having this intellectual awareness about yourself. So all kinds of self-awareness. Intellectual awareness, also awareness in form of honesty, being very honest with yourself, striving to be as honest as possible. So this inner voice is to strive to be as honest as possible about how things are. So let's say an example. When you have financial struggles and you don't have enough money for something, or let's say when you strive for goals, but your results are not how you wanted them to be, that you are honest about the results and how things are. So this increases your self-esteem. So all forms of self-awareness, like self-honesty and intellectual awareness. And the other thing is the form of self-awareness, like in meditation, like through practicing consciousness. This is a deeper form of self-awareness that goes beyond intellect. And this is necessary for you to basically go beyond just this, intellectual aspect, and understand your deeper self, your own emotions. So most of your emotional patterns appear in your body. The triggers, the triggers when you're triggered by people, when something upsets you, that appears in your body. So by living in the now, practicing consciousness like meditation, I recommend you to do it at least for 10 to 20 minutes per day to improve your awareness. This improves already your awareness a lot, and therefore your self-esteem, the first pillar of your self-esteem. Okay, now let's go to the second pillar. The second pillar comes after the self-awareness part, and this is self-acceptance. So once you're aware of something, you have now the chance to accept that or still to look away with it. Of course, the mind will try to tell you sometimes that you should look away from that it's not good, or it hurts to look at that. So self-acceptance is when you see the things how they are, but you feel resistance towards them. And you recognize this as a resistance. You don't look away. You experience this resistance consciously. This resistance is usually on an emotional level. So most of this resistance comes literally only on an emotional level. Okay? And this is why you need also a self-awareness in form of consciousness, because then you can recognize that. And you can just observe this resistance, right? You can observe what appears, what kind of thoughts and emotions appears in you, right? So the next time something like that happens, try to be calm. Just breathe deeply in and out 3 times, and just observe. What does your mind try to tell you? What do you feel in your body? Observe this resistance rather than trying to fight it or trying to go away from it. And if you usually don't overcome these 2 pillars, it's basically impossible to take responsibility. Okay? Because if you have resistance towards something, you won't be able to fully take responsibility, only in a physical level. Of course, you can still feel resistance and still take action, right? But on an emotional, mental level, you are stuck. You are stuck in the past. You are stuck like in your childhood, like this little child, and you are stuck, right, in the past. It can move forward. And the third level is self-responsibility, okay? And self-responsibility is basically, it happens once you have already self-awareness about in intellectual form, about what you want, who you are, and why you want things. Self-awareness also about understanding your own motivation, your drive, right, by the way. Okay, now let's go back to self-responsibility. So self-responsibility is literally when it comes now to this taking action part. So when you know already let's say you accepted you have a money problem, or you have problems with your health, right? Let's say you want to improve a lot your health, your mental health, your emotional well-being, right? So now you release this resistance, or started at least to get lower, right? And now you can take responsibility without being stuck on an emotional mental level, right? Without further fighting against life, because that will go against self-esteem. That's why it's possible to be rich, or to maybe even have a lot great physical fitness, but still actually have low self-esteem, because the mental emotional level is still resistance towards things. So responsibility means simply, okay, what decisions do you want to now make? So like from the steps before, from the step of self-awareness to self-acceptance, where do you want to take responsibility to improve that, to do something about it? And what helps you there is to have this self-awareness from the first pillar. The first self-awareness of why do you want to improve that? So why do you want something in life? What drives you personally? Not because society tells you. What drives you personally? Okay, what is your personal motivation? What is also the pain that drives you, or the pleasure, the motivation that drives you? Once you have this, your own personal why, the self-awareness of what drives you, self-responsibility happens automatically very often. Because of course you want to grow. If you don't deny it, everyone wants to grow. It's naturally for humans, right? So as you are connected to your why, and you are self-aware about all these things and why you actually avoid things, you have accepted that, it's only it's only natural that take responsibility and do something about it. For example, like improving your shape and fitness, if you wanted to do that, right? And now to focus on that, practice that. Simply take a decision and write down why you want this. So what do you want to improve? Take two decisions, a bigger one and a small one. One small thing that you want to improve, and something bigger that you want to improve. Maybe a bigger decision in life that you are avoiding. And before that, if you're afraid or if it's difficult for you, write down why you want this. Write down why you want to change that. So write down your motivation for the little decision and for the big decision. Okay, and this is how you build up the first three pillars of self-esteem. By the way, if this video helped you or you learned something valuable, just share it in the comments below. It will also help me to find out what was the most valuable information for you, so that I can focus maybe more on that in the future, right? As I get feedback about that. And yeah, see you next time. Bye bye.